So yay, I'm so thankful that you agreed to do another podcast with me. I feel like it's old times when I get to talk to you, Rach.
Yay. No, I'm honored that you feel like I have something to add to your project. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, you totally do. I feel like out of all my friends, you can just understand more and more rather than sort of like asking someone who doesn't get what I'm going through. It's like easier to talk through you and about it.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so I feel like I want to start with a couple of just catch ups. Is that okay?
Please.
Okay, so last time we talked, I don't know if you remember, but I think last time we talked about journaling in the classroom. And then we also definitely talked between us about like manifesting your next step.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm pretty sure you're super transparent. I'm sure you're okay with me saying that like you were manifesting this whole um sort of second pivot for perhaps going to grad school again or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what I kind of want to start off asking you about, because what I'm seeing in education is this kind of grasping of either a pivot during a certain amount of years or sort of like relationships have like this 7-year itch. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it does happen with careers too, and especially in education, because we're just like completely, when we're in it, we're in it. And then when we're off, we're off. And
Yes.
yeah. And so I was wondering how you were feeling about that. And then I can share about like how I ended up with this interesting topic about going part-time. But yeah, I'm interviewing
Mm-hmm.
you, so I want to hear about you and like how you sort of switched everything around.
Okay. So you mean how I decided to apply to grad school, or I actually didn't get in anywhere. So I didn't, that was an
Right.
easy decision.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to say it for you, so
Okay.
yeah, like starting from like, yeah, that's good, that's a good start, starting from like when you decided, um or I guess when you found out the results. Okay, yeah, so you didn't get in, and then like
Mhm.
what was your process through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I had previously studied for my doctorate in English and I did all the coursework, but I didn't write the dissertation. So I basically, I finished almost all of the PhD and then I did a second master's in professional writing. So there's always been like a part of me that wants the letters. You know what I mean? So
Dr. Levin.
there's that, yes. And then I've also just been really, really fascinated by the power of writing to heal as a healing modality. And I studied psychology undergrad. So I was like excited to put these things together and maybe pursue this in graduate school. But I've been out of school for so long, and I didn't really make a good case, I don't think, that I'm a candidate for a research psychology PhD program at this point in my life. And there is some disappointment because I just love studying and learning and it would have been really cool. But there was also some relief,
Yeah.
because it's a tough path to take up, later in life, mid-career. So I'm kind of relieved that it didn't work out. And just focusing on what I have in my own life, I don't necessarily need the degree, the letters, in order to promote writing as a healing modality, and that kind of thing. So yeah, so I've just been focusing on this credential. It's a certified journal facilitator credential from the Therapeutic Writing Institute. So that's kind of where my energy went in terms of that aspect of my interest. And then just in terms of my writing career, just, focusing on trying to bring that to another level as well.
Yes. And I wanted to just ask you, as you were talking, I forgot actually, when did you teach?
So I taught all the way through graduate school. So I taught um, composition at USC for a bunch of years while I was in the PhD program. And then I also taught English, creative writing, and cultural studies at Cal State LA. And then I was on adjunct faculty at LA City College for a number of years in the English ESL department, working with students one-on-one and also teaching basic writing. And then I kind of left that academic teaching. And so in the last few years, the teaching I've been doing is with journal groups. So that's been through PCC extension at Pasadena City College so far.
Okay, got it. Because that's sort of what I was trying to get at is, do you feel different teaching in the facilitating journal way versus the typical academic way?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I have a pretty rigorous academic background because I went to Stanford and I studied research psychology there. And then I did the doctorate
Yeah.
coursework in English. So all of my teaching has been pretty academic, very academic, based on um, kind of these core competencies and in writing and critical thinking. The journaling thing is a completely different realm. I mean, it's more of like a coaching, facilitating. It enters the spirit realm, where it was just diametrically opposed to the academic realm, which is so focused on rationality, data, logic, and reason. There's an aspect of journaling that defies a lot of that. So
Yeah.
it's a complete
Yeah.
switch. Yeah.
I wonder though if, like, I'm wondering if schools are now realizing that it's actually all connected. Do you know what I mean? Like now that we're just in this kind of phase of where the world is at, because
Hmm.
journaling and, just learning about like how our self-development can affect our personal lives and then make us better students and like better teachers and like just affect, like everything is just so connected. So I wonder if that is why City College is like offering this, or is it? I don't really know. Like, did you bring this did you bring the journal facilitating class to the college?
I did actually. I pitched it to them.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
But it's in the extension program, so it's not in the academic credit program, so it's a slightly different
Okay.
universe.
Okay.
It's not tied to a degree program, for example. It's more of like classes for the community kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Same at
Hmm.
my school, like at the high school that I teach at, like they don't offer credit for a lot of the subjects or flex time, flex hours that help you with mental health and self-care and things like that, but they do offer it. So
Hmm.
I feel like there's this awareness around like educational institutes understanding that it is a big part of our a student's journey and
Yeah,
just like,
absolutely.
yeah, right, and just like how to become like stronger with your foundation, but we just don't get credit for it. It's so
Hmm.
interesting. Like we have to take the
Yes,
personal credit, not like a credit that you can apply to to a degree.
that's so true.
And so
Absolutely.
yeah, and so like that's, I don't know, that's kind of something that I feel like needs to change. However,
Hmm.
what I'm seeing is, and like this is something that I think you're so good at, what I'm seeing that is we have to like change the administrators and the teacher leaders in charge first. Like we have
Hmm.
to support them first to see that this has to like kind of come from the top down sort of
Mm-hmm.
model. And so I guess when I, can't reach you for 2 days because it's like this thing that you institute, like I feel like this is something that would benefit a lot of people to know and learn from your awesome self-care and your self-care system and boundaries, just all of the love that you give yourself. And I know it's evolved too, like for you,
Mm-hmm.
myself as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, could you just like share some of the things you do to implement that?
For self-care or
Yeah. Like straight up, like what Rachel, like, yeah, what you do for self-care. I mean, it seems like a silly
uh
question, maybe, but honestly, people don't really practice it.
Yeah, my self-care routine is pretty hefty because I have some chronic conditions that I live with. So I have IBS, I have a dysregulated nervous system. So I have to do a lot to just sort of maintain my homeostasis. So diet is huge,
Diet,
no
yes.
grains, no sugars, all of that good stuff. And
And
journal.
hold on, can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
Did your IBS kind of start like from having stress from work, from being in academia? Because I know as a high achieving student, because you started off as a high achieving student, and like this is something I'm familiar with too. Like, I feel like that's when our stresses kind of got born, like the
Yeah.
trauma can get stuck in our bodies and stuff. So, like,
Mhm.
do you remember like what was going on when your IBS started, and is it connected to stress? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had like a kind of sensitive gut or digestive system, and it's absolutely tied to childhood trauma and that kind of thing. I
And is
mean,
it okay to talk about this?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, my phone is ringing in the background.
That's okay.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I remember being in high school my junior year and my parents were splitting up. They were in a high conflict relationship and it was a very stressful situation for many years. And junior year they split up, and junior year is like in high school is like if you're like a high achieving student, is a really pressure cooker kind of year,
Oh
because
yeah.
you
Oh
have to
yeah.
like establish your excellence and SATs and all that.
That's where
um
Maxie is right now. So we know.
And yeah, my IBS really started then. And I know it was emotionally grounded because that summer I remember, like, I literally, sorry if this is too much information, but I would have diarrhea like every morning. I was
Oh
so
my
stressed.
God.
But my parents are both in the medical field, and so they just medicalized it. They're like, oh, she must have like a parasite.
Mm.
No one was like, she must be under a lot of stress. So yeah, it went away. Like, I went away to like summer camp that summer and it went away. It's like as soon as I left the situation.
Oh wow.
So
Did your teachers,
yeah, go ahead.
were your teachers understanding around it?
Oh, they didn't know.
Oh, so you didn't, did you just like not use the bathroom? Like, did you ask for like, extended period in the bathroom, or like how did you get through that
I would just go in the morning before I went to school and I would
and not
just
eat or
suck it
something?
up, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Or oh, hugs to baby Rachel.
Oh, thanks, sweetie. Yeah, I mean, I think what happens, Sue, and I'm sure you know this in your context, but I think a lot of kids go through trauma at home, let's face it. And some kids end up low achieving because of the stress, right? Because there's so many problems. But high achieving kids, you're more likely, I think your teachers are prone to thinking you're okay. Like, you're getting straight A's, so you're probably fine.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but
That's a big insight right there. You're right. There is the
those kids,
assumption.
yeah, those kids are often, like, I developed the overachievement as a response to the chaos at home, if that makes sense. And so I think, it's definitely more invisible, maybe, like the problems that kids in that high achieving group might be having under wraps.
So was it something like you doing your very best so that you didn't add to the conflict, or was it like you continuing to do your very best to like as a like avoidant thing, or do you know?
I don't think I had a lot of conscious mindfulness at that time about what I
Yeah,
was doing
no.
and why. But looking back, I think it was a way for me to maintain some control over something. Like I had no control at home. Like there was, you know, unpredictable conflict, violence, like stuff that you can't control. So you have school, and it's like you have control over whether you get a good grade on your test or not. So I think it's a place where I felt some normalcy and some reward.
Yes.
Whereas like everything at home was yucky. So it just felt like, okay, this feels good. So I'm gonna pour my energy here kind of thing.
Totally.
Um, that was just my coping mechanism. I think a lot of kids go the other direction. I think it can really depend.
Yeah, at my high school, there's like more of a tendency around like eating disorders and things like this,
Mm,
unfortunately. But yeah, oh, I totally
mhm.
can see how that was a coping mechanism that could be so invisible.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, like my digestive system and my nervous system developed under sort of like very stressful conditions. So I've always been really sensitive. And they've just been kind of lifelong, kind of chronic things that I've had to manage.
And so then when you started journaling, was it then or was it actually like later in life to help with the healing?
I think I journaled intermittently at that time, but not really in a cohesive way. And then when I was about 24, I read Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, and she has the morning pages are her thing where you write first thing in the morning every morning. And I was, I was in therapy at the time and my therapist had recommended the book to me. So it was kind of an accident that I started journaling. I started journaling because of that book, really. And I didn't like the morning, so I became the night pages. So I would journal at night. And yeah, I mean, it's been, I guess, about 25 years since I started and I just kept going. I didn't know at that time that it was going to be healing. I was just doing it because it was coming out of me and because I wanted to maybe be a writer and I saw something good about the practice, but it was much later that I realized how healing it was.
Okay, so wait, did you have like a diary when you were younger? I definitely had one, but then I had to stop because my mom found it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never writing in
Oh
my diary ever again.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really traumatic, Sue. A
It
lot of
was,
people stop
oh,
stop the practice of journaling forever because of that. They never feel safe.
that's exactly how I felt. My mom was like, because I had some secrets in there about just other people that she knew. And I was like flabbergasted when she told one of the parents, one of my secrets that I wrote about them. I don't remember what it was, but,
Oh
like
no.
my friend was mad at me and, just everything was so embarrassing. So, yeah, thank you for that recognition.
That's a massive betrayal. I'm so sorry you went through that. That can really be damaging in terms of you trusting, your
It
journal.
was, it was. I think it has a lot to do with why I like even to this day,
Mhm.
when I write something down that's really important to me, I hide it.
Probably. Yeah.
Hide it. And so I think I probably hide stuff from myself too. Like I don't know where some of my own notebooks are.
Yeah, I had an ex-boyfriend read mine once and it was just devastating. And yeah, you just need to put it under lock and key if there's any chance. Yeah.
Mm, yes. But now, yeah, so journaling is like a big part of something that I find really helpful to just get things out from here and here in
Mm-hmm.
my head and in my chest and just like put it in a book.
Yeah.
I want to ask more about your time, your boundaries around time, because that is something really rare and really special that I just so honor about you. And I love when I get to tell people about it. So if you could talk about that with your Friday, does it start Friday night?
Friday sundown. Yeah.
Uh-oh, okay, we gotta hurry, guys.
Oh, you have a couple hours. It's okay. It's summer. It stays light till late. um, yeah, so I had a period about 5 years ago when I was transitioning from LA to Pasadena, where I live now, where like my nervous system was just in complete collapse. I had gone through like a really stressful situation with real estate transaction with tenants. And it's a long story that I don't need to go into, but I was seeking some rejuvenation and some repair for my overstimulated nervous system. And um, I had like a pretty secular Jewish upbringing. So in Judaism, one of the core practices is to keep the Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And very religious people follow a lot of rules around this. So you're not supposed to work, you're not supposed to drive, you're not supposed to use electronics, you're not supposed to turn on and off lights, you're not supposed to do anything that resembles work. You're not even supposed to think about work. You're not supposed to carry money in your pocket. You're not supposed to, I mean, it's just like all of these safeguards, so that you do not work.
Wow.
And I have always been curious about this practice. It's not something I grew up with at all.
Okay.
Um, but I decided to try it kind of in my own way. So I don't observe all of the 6,000 rules around this time, but I kind of do in my own version. So yeah, so Friday sundown, I shut off my computer, I shut off my email, I shut off my cell phone. I don't work. I don't drive unless there's,
Excuse
bless you,
me.
unless there's an emergency, or there's occasionally I'll have to like make an exception, but I tend to not go shopping unless there's like a yard sale next door or something, in the neighborhood, like I'll maybe do that, but I don't like go out with the intention to shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a digital detox,
Okay.
but it's also just um you know it, you asked about time and boundaries around time, and there's a difference between time as we conceive of it as humans and then the eternal, right?
Yeah.
Divine time, like we're a blip in centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries of time, and time will continue after us, and it happened so long before us. And so we create the material world from Sunday through Friday, and then this 24 hours we live in the eternal. That's the idea of it, right? So you're trying to kind of connect to yourself, connect to spirit. um, and yeah, I feel like being able to experience that once a week, it just changes you. It changes you. It does also help you set boundaries in other ways because you realize what that can achieve.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So it's like a step back in time almost as well. Like
Yeah,
maybe,
right. Like leaving like human time and entering divine time.
yeah. How has it, like, if you could tell me a couple of things, like, what are some of the sort of outcomes you've had from once you started doing your divine time practices, honoring your divine time practice? What is like one or two that you can think of you'd like to share? I think I'm gonna start it. I think I
Really?
might.
Wow.
I do.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of incredible. I'm probably going to have to start off, at least I'm thinking I have to start off with smaller periods,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like sundown to sunrise in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Just start small and see how it goes. But I mean, I'd love for you to share like some ways it actually has helped you in whether it's in the eternal divine time or in this like maternal realm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to quantify, but I do feel like, you know, just the digital detox part is phenomenal because we're so used to being on 24/7 and always available, and our minds are just, if we have the option, I think I do, at least I choose to look at my phone or plug into some social media or something is going on. Um, and just like when you step away from that, you realize how little you need it. So it helps you dissolve, I think, your attachments to things. Like you think you
Mhm.
need X, Y, and Z, and then you give it up for a day and you're like, oh, I don't need this. So it does help with that, just taking a break from the frenetic pace of uber modern life is
Yeah.
rejuvenating for our nervous system. I think for anybody, it's not a religious thing. You don't have to even think about it as a divine break. Even if you just shut off all your electronics for 24 hours, you're going to feel something.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
piece of it, I think, is really useful. And there's like a whole movement. I mean, there's all kinds of like digital detox, like Sabbath kind of variations. Like if you search for it online, you'll find all kinds of movements of people trying to institute this around the world.
I love that. So
Yeah.
wait, what do you do? What's something that you do when you're honoring in this beautiful, beautiful eternal time for yourself? Like what's something you do? I'm trying to imagine. I could see you doing so many things.
I mean, in traditional Judaism, women don't study divine books necessarily because it's not an egalitarian society. But
Mm.
um, so I don't like read the Torah on Shabbat, but I'll read spiritual books. Like I'll read, like secularly spiritual books, if that makes sense. Like I'm not reading like Jewish liturgy, but I'm reading, like Louise Hay, or I'm reading, books on spirit. So I feel like that is like my day where I'm not reading for work, and I'm not reading for school, and I'm not reading the New York Times to know what's going on in the news. I'm reading for spirit. So that's definitely something I try to do. And journal about those insights. And it, like, setting a day aside for that, it helps with the growth process over time.
And do you have company? Does your lovely fiance come over? Like, is it just purely for you?
For many years, it was a break from the world for me. I needed the aloneness and I didn't want people around. But that is not really what Shabbat is supposed to be. Like in traditional Judaism, it's not just about not working, it's about cultivating joy. Like that's the overarching purpose. You want to cultivate joy. And that's done through relationships oftentimes. So in traditional Judaism, everyone's gathering, at the house. For me, I was trying to heal my nervous system. I was trying to heal from toxic relationships and codependence, and wanting to put the walls up so that I could connect to myself and connect to the eternal and connect to spirit and protect myself from these bad things. So that has been, you know, like a more solitary practice for most of the time I've been doing it. But since January, I've had my fiance join me. So we do it together. Not every
Mhm.
single weekend, but often. So
Yeah.
that's been nice to share it.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I I don't, yeah, I'm thinking about who I could do it with, but I'm just glad to learn about it. And, just have that downtime.
Yeah, it's
I got
nice,
into
isn't it?
these habits and I feel like I need to make like I need to spread and rebrand the education career because we're so used to just giving every part of us
Mm-hmm.
and not be seen of something that's like less than a hero. Like everyone is always praising sort of like your ov- your overachieving feeling of like coping mechanism. I feel like as teachers, if you take off that mask and show that you're actually a human and you're not this perfect, smiley, happy being who
Mm-hmm.
wants to take care of, you know, all of the children of the world at once, it feels like something that we're not supposed to do. It's like a cop admitting that he's scared.
Right.
When of course you're scared, of course your heart is beating faster, of course you're like um unsure of what's going to happen every day. But hey, you know what? Like that's what teaching is now. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're in such a big public space, like we don't really know what's going to happen. And especially
Yeah.
in sped. Um, but yeah, so I feel like I need to kind of just ask all the self-care questions and like let everybody know the little things that we can add um
Mm-hmm.
just to
Definitely.
reclaim part of that side of us that can take it easy. Um,
Absolutely.
because I'm lucky, like I have this like awesome daughter to come home to. There's like not any pressure when I get home, but like other people, they go home and there's like all these other mouths to feed. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's so important. And then, yeah, I really believe, hopefully, I mean, after then that there'll be some changes when people
Mm-hmm.
recognize that. Um,
Yeah, there needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of your techniques and like I'm so happy to learn about your that you pitched the journaling to City College. Like that's something, I mean, you and I are so close. I don't think you ever told me that little big thing.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I don't think you told me that you pitched it and that it was your idea. That is a
Yeah,
huge deal.
it was pretty cool that they wanted it,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, going back to what you said, about teachers having to be like these heroes and having to kind of be masked. I think, I don't know, when I taught English at LA City College, a lot of the students arrived to the college fairly damaged from high school, from public education in general. They arrive with feeling like they're not good writers and someone's like crushed their confidence in high school and no one gave them the skills, and that's often why they end up at a community college. And
Mhm.
I feel like half of what they need is spirit, is growth mindset, is it's like, yes, they need the didactic learning, they need skill, but they also need to like understand how to work through failure, how to overcome maybe being discouraged in the past and that kind of thing. And if we as teachers are masked, like we're these invulnerable heroes, like we miss an opportunity, I think, to show our students and help them kind of to not just learn, okay, here's how to write a thesis sentence, but also like, okay, here's how to be confident. Here's how to, oh, my teacher fails sometimes, like my teacher
Mhm.
is vulnerable sometimes, when I
Well,
would share with my students about my failures, like they would sit up straight and like completely stop like chattering amongst themselves, like they want to know this stuff. So I don't know if this applies to like your project at all, but it was just something I was thinking about, and what you said reminded me of that.
No, it totally does. It totally does, because that's something I also need to know is like, what are ways to build connection? Because that I feel like, sure, getting an education and getting good grades and graduating is all fine and dandy, but really learning how to connect with our students is like the the key to opening
Mhm.
that door so that they can actually thrive in high school, not just like, you know, even if
Mhm.
they got an A, it doesn't necessarily mean they thrive. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Right. Right. And if you as a teacher are drained and don't have self-care to take care of yourself, you're not coping well.
yeah.
And if they are in this rigorous academic path and no one's at all seeing what's going on, emotionally for them, they're not coping well. Like it's it just ends up with a lot of dysfunction. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love these tips. I love it so much. I think I need to ask you. I know we're gonna start winding down, but I have a couple of questions left. Okay.
Okay.
So actually, Massey is gonna be doing a podcast, and I gave her this tip, but I think I'm gonna take it too. Who are like a couple of people that you can recommend that I interview and ask them, for just any information about their education journey. Um, and then I don't know what I'll ask after that, but I'll have one more. But yeah, do you recommend anyone? I mean, I have a feeling I know who you're gonna say.
Hmm. So people who to talk to um about their education journey.
Yeah, just anybody who like you think would have an interesting story to learn from, or even someone
Mm-hmm.
who's in education that you think
Hmm.
would be good to talk to.
Yeah.
Um, of course, with the alignment of hopefully adding something that I can bring into the program that I'm doing to just create more spirit and mindfulness in public
Mm-hmm.
schools.
Yeah. Um, I mean, just off the top of my head, and I can think about this more, but I don't know if you knew my friend Michelle Dunbar. She
Michelle,
um,
maybe.
she has a PhD in sociology and she works in higher education. But she works in like institutional research, which is like about retention of students. And she has a very strong interest in first generation college students, bringing them
Oh
and
yeah.
retaining them in the university, and works with a lot of, underprivileged minority groups and that kind of thing. And she herself is a first generation college student, and had a lot of trauma growing up fatherless, and has a lot of Buddhist kind of influence and spiritual practice. So she might be a good person to talk to.
Thanks. Yay. I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And if you
Um,
think of anyone else, let me know.
okay.
And then let's see, I think I'd just like to ask you, if there was like your ideal school that you could have grown up in, or that you might have stumbled upon and saw like, oh wow, I wish I went to school there. What
Mhm.
was it about the school, or what would it be about the school that you want to be a part of?
That's a good question. The high school I went to was a public high school in a very wealthy area. So it was a quote unquote good school in the sense that, it was well funded, but most of the funding went to like water polo. There
Oh
was a
wait, is
lot
this
of,
Corona Del Mar? Are we
yes,
okay?
like we had money for like a sparkling new water polo stadium, but there was no drama program. They cut the drama program, for example. So it was like a weird place because, it was a good school. I don't want to complain
Yeah.
about going to school in a wealthy area, but their funds were allocated in strange ways that didn't support the arts. And the community was on the sort of money loving side, a lot of BMWs in the parking lot kind of thing. So it wasn't necessarily like a spiritual or intellectual hotbed, I would say at that
Right.
time. So yeah, I feel like there wasn't a lot of room for balance. You could get a good kind of your academic subjects, you could get a good education, or you could be a jock, but there wasn't like an in between. So I feel like my ideal school would have more opportunity for discovery. I taught one summer at a private school in Santa Monica called Crossroads.
Oh,
And
familiar.
that would be like, I don't know, because I don't know what it's like to go there, but just teaching those students. I taught a film class over the summer, and yeah, like we would go out at lunchtime and like the high school jazz band would be playing, and like there's so much enrichment in the arts and so much ability to think like really eclectically and widely outside of just academic subjects. So I think, that's a difficult thing to achieve in most communities, but if we're talking about ideals, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I've heard so many good things about Crossroads. One of Massey's best friends goes there, and
Mm,
yeah, it would be such a cool model for something in the in the public school system, if possible. I mean, you'd think it
mhm.
would be, right? But I don't know. That's good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, my sister.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me to
Awesome.
speak with you.
Yeah, I had a really good time, and I just love seeing your face. I haven't gotten to see you in person since that awesome um trail that we did.
I know. Yeah, we
Wait,
have to
what's the
catch
name
up.
of that trail again?
I don't know the official name. I call it the JPL trail because the trailhead
That's
is at
yeah.
JPL. Yeah.
That's exactly how I told that's what I said to my sister. I was like, I don't know, it's next to the Jet Propulsion Lab in Altadena. And she was like, wait, what is it? And so I just thought I'd ask you right now. But if anyone's listening, it's an awesome shaded trail, and I think you'd really enjoy it because it was beautiful.
Yes.
Just
Highly
like
recommend it.
you.
Aw, likewise. You too, sweetie.
And I know I'm gonna have you to ask again because you're just an ever evolving person. And I can't wait to see what else happens to share about. And I can't wait till your wedding. So
Well, I'm excited for your podcast and can't wait to hear more about it and its development.
okay, yeah, I will. I have so much to fill you in on, but I will for now give you
Yes,
some time before you have to shut down for, do you call it Sabbath or do you call it Shabbat?
I call it Shabbat,
Okay, for
but
Shabbat.
it works either way.
Okay, okay. So yeah, thank you and I love you.
All right, love you too. Have a wonderful evening, wonderful
Okay,
weekend. We'll catch up more soon.
okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.